Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Joe is a 1970 American drama film that was written by Norman Wexler. It was directed by John G. Avildsen. The movie stars Peter Boyle, Dennis Patrick, and Susan Sarandon in her film debut. The movie garnered both critical acclaim and box office success. Produced on a budget of just a few $100,000, it was a sleeper hit that grossed over $19 million in the U.S. and Canada alone, making it the 13th highest grossing film for that year of 1970. The storyline follows Joe Curran, a World War II veteran residing in Astoria with his spouse Mary Lou. He's characterized as a working-class individual with real prejudiced views, primarily targeting liberals, homosexuals, blacks, and the whole counterculture figures. He especially hates hippies. In contrast, Bill Compton, an upper-middle-class advertising executive living with his wife Joan in a luxurious Park Avenue apartment, leads a completely different lifestyle. Their paths cross when Bill enters a bar that's frequented by Joe to seek solace after he unintentionally killed his daughter Melissa's boyfriend, Frank Russo, during a fit of rage, blaming him for Melissa's struggles with addiction. While Bill confides in Joan about the incident that happened, he grapples with feelings of guilt and remorse. In a moment of vulnerability, he inadvertently reveals to the bar patrons, including Joe, that he has committed an act similar to what Joe often rants about, leading to laughter among the bar patrons. However, when news of Frank's murder surfaces 3 days later, Joe realizes that Bill was referring to him and that he did really kill someone. Initially, Bill suspects Joe's intentions to be that of blackmail, but Joe idolizes Bill for taking action that he has only fantasized about. Despite Bill's discomfort with their growing friendship, they bond over shared perspectives on life, albeit expressed through their different social classes. This relationship causes concern for Joan, who fears that Joe's volatile nature could lead to further violence or retaliation against Bill. Peter Boyle won the role of Joe with his ability to improvise in character during his audition, but the producers felt that Boyle was too young. He was 34 at the time, and they wanted Lawrence Tierney cast in the role instead. But the director insisted that Boyle was the best actor for that part. When Boyle saw the audience members cheering the violence in the film, he refused to appear in any other films or television shows that glorified violence. This included passing on the role of Jimmy Doyle in The French Connection from the very next year, 1971, which would earn Gene Hackman the Oscar for Best Actor. Later on, he went on to play in numerous movies that had tons of violence in them, so he must have gotten over his disdain for the violence that was portrayed in this film. And it even went as far as that in the 1980s, there were rumors that he might appear in a sequel to Joe. The film Citizen Joe would have followed this character as he tried to rebuild his life after spending 10 years in prison, and would have dealt with his grown children who held more liberal beliefs. Canon Films went as far as to periodically take out ads about the unmade sequels to this film, including the tagline, "The times have changed, but the man has not. He's back." But somehow the film never materialized. 10 weeks before Joe was released in the U.S., a real mass murder with similarities to the movie's climactic scenes occurred in Detroit, Michigan. On May 7, 1970, a railroad worker named Arville Douglas Garland entered a university residence and killed his daughter and her boyfriend, along with 2 other students. During pretrial deliberations for this crime, Judge Joseph Gillis saw this film and strongly advised both the prosecution and the defense teams to do the same. He then carefully screened each member of the jury pool and excluded anyone who had seen the film. He also forbade any seated jury member from watching the movie or discussing it with anyone who had seen it. The production manager, Jim Sachs, said his experience of working with the film's notoriously temperamental screenwriter, Norman Wexler, was particularly memorable. He went on to say that he was completely insane. When he was on his meds, he was normal. When he got off, he would write stuff like Serpico from 1973. He also remembers that he got a call that he was arrested in Washington, D.C. for peeing in a fountain. And then one day he was walking down the street with the editor, George T. Norris, and he started throwing $50 and $100 bills at people, which caused a mini riot. Going back to Peter Boyle for a little bit, which, by the way, he is just phenomenal in this role as Joe. And as we said, he improvised so well at the audition. That's the reason he got the part. Well, during filming, he did the same thing with a lot of his dialogue, including one line from his long nude scene where he makes love to a hippie girl, played by Patty Caton. He said he felt real uptight about the scene when he was doing it because he was quite a bit heavier than he should have been, and the whole setting was just uncomfortable. He ends up taking her breast in his mouth, and she says, "Hey, wait a minute," with him quickly ad-libbing, "I hope I'm not out of line." And they liked the way it sounded so much, they left it in the film. This is the film debut of Susan Sarandon. She appeared in another film from 1968 called The Next Oasis, which was unfinished and finally abandoned. The production features the first of her many career nude scenes, and the actress has said that when she did the film, she was convinced that there wouldn't be much showing on the big screen. There were too many things that would block the camera from seeing her entire body. Her hair was long, and there was a lot of props in front of the camera, so she felt pretty safe when she slipped her clothes off. But after she saw the finished cut of the film, she realized that everything showed. Go back and take a look at this film. It's a pretty good one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.